The smoke rises black over Auschwitz. It is November 1944. The sky is gray, always gray, the color of ash, the color of despair. The air smells of burning, of chemicals, of flesh, of death. The smell never leaves. It clings to clothing, to skin, to hair, to lungs. It becomes part of you, part of your breath, part of your existence. The camp is a machine, cold, efficient, precise, built for one purpose. Death, industrial death, systematic death. Death on a scale the world has never seen. The barracks are wooden, long low, packed with bodies. Too many bodies. Not enough space. Not enough air. Not enough anything. The ground is mud. Frozen now in November. The trees are gone. Cut down for fuel, for construction, for firewood. What remains are stumps, black against the white snow, like broken teeth in a skull. In one of these barracks lives a man named David Hoffman. He is 31 years old, but he looks 60. Starvation does that. It hollows you out, makes you a skeleton, a ghost. David was an artist before the war. In Vienna, he painted portraits mostly, some landscapes, churches, synagogues. He had a small studio on Taberstrasse, 2 rooms, north-facing windows, good light. He had clients, commissions, a reputation. He had a life. He had a wife, Sarah. She was beautiful, dark hair, green eyes, a singer. She had a voice like honey, warm, sweet, pure. They married in 1936. They had a daughter in 1939, Rachel. She was 5 years old when they took her. Dark hair like her mother, dark eyes. She liked to watch David paint. She would sit in the corner of the studio, on a wooden stool, her legs swinging, not touching the floor. She would watch the brush move across the canvas, watch the colors blend, watch the images emerge. She never spoke while he worked. She just watched. Sometimes David would tell her stories while he painted, about the subjects, about their lives, about places far away, about angels. Rachel loved the stories about angels. She asked if they were real. David said yes. They are real. They watch over us. They keep us safe. Rachel asked if she had an angel. David said yes. Everyone has an angel. Rachel smiled. She said, I want to see mine. David said, maybe someday, when you are older. Rachel said promise. David said promise. He lied. He did not believe in angels. He believed in paint, in canvas, in light and shadow, in the physical world. But he wanted Rachel to believe, because children need hope, need magic, need something to hold on to when the world is dark. Then the Germans came. It was March 1938. The Anschluss. Austria became part of Germany, part of the Reich. The laws changed. Jews could not work, could not own property, could not exist. David's studio was seized. His clients disappeared. His reputation meant nothing. They moved to a smaller apartment. 1 room, no windows, no light. David could not paint. No money for supplies, no space, no reason. The world was ending. Why paint it? In 1942, they were ordered to report to the train station. They could bring 1 suitcase. David packed clothes, a photograph of Rachel. Sarah packed food, bread, cheese, apples. Rachel packed her doll, a rag doll, worn, loved, named Clara. They stood on the platform. Hundreds of people, thousands, waiting for the trains. The trains came. Cattle cars. Wooden. No windows. Just slats. They were packed inside. Standing room only. No air. No water. No toilets. Just bodies. Pressed together. Breathing the same air. Sharing the same fear. The journey took 3 days. People died standing up. No room to fall. When the doors opened, the light was blinding. Guards shouted. Dogs barked. People stumbled out, onto the platform, into the chaos, into hell. There was a man, an officer, SS, He stood at the end of the platform. He looked at each person, pointed, left or right, life or death. Not that anyone knew. David stepped forward. The officer looked at him, pointed right. David moved. Sarah and Rachel stepped forward. The officer looked at them, pointed left. David tried to go with them. A guard stopped him, rifle in his chest. The guard said, "Keep moving." David said, "My wife, my daughter." The guard said, "Keep moving or die here." David looked at Sarah. At Rachel. Rachel was crying. She held Clara tight. She said, "Papa." David said, "It will be okay. I will find you. We will be together soon." The guard shoved him. David stumbled. He looked back. Sarah and Rachel were being led away. Into a crowd. Into the mass. Into nothing. He never saw them again. That was the selection. That was Auschwitz. That was the end of David's life. Even though he kept breathing, David was sent to the men's camp. He was tattooed. A number on his forearm. A7294. That was his name now. Not David. Not Hoffman. Just a number. He was given a uniform. Striped. Gray and blue. Thin. Dirty. Too big. He was given wooden shoes. They did not fit. They rubbed. Made blisters. Made walking agony. He was assigned to a barracks. Block 12. It was packed. Triple-layer bunks. Wooden planks. No mattresses. No blankets. Just bodies. 50 men to a bunk meant for 10. They slept sideways. Pressed together. For warmth. For survival. David did not sleep. He could not. He just lay there, staring at the wood, listening to the breathing, the coughing, the crying, the dying. In the morning, they were woken at 4. Roll call. They stood in rows. In the cold, in the dark, for hours, while the guards counted. Sometimes they counted wrong. They would start over. Sometimes people collapsed. From cold, from hunger, from exhaustion. The guard shot them, left them where they fell. After roll call, there was food. A piece of bread. Stale, hard, moldy. A cup of coffee. Not real coffee. Just hot water. Brown, bitter, undrinkable. But David drank it because it was warm, because it was liquid, because it was something. Then work. David was assigned to the Sonderkommando, the special unit, the prisoners who worked in the crematoria, who dealt with the dead. It was a death sentence. Everyone knew it. Sonderkommando were killed every few months, replaced, so they could not tell what they saw, what they did, what happened in the chambers. David did not care. He was already dead. Sarah and Rachel were gone, probably dead, certainly dead. What did it matter if he died too? At least it would be over. The work was worse than death. Every day, trains arrived. Hundreds of people, thousands. They were told they were going to shower, to be deloused. They were led to the changing rooms, told to undress, to fold their clothes, to remember where they put them, so they could find them after. They believed it, because the rooms looked real. Hooks on the walls, benches, signs in multiple languages, everything designed to deceive, to calm, to prevent panic. Then they were led to the chambers. Large rooms, concrete, pillars in the center, fake shower heads on the ceiling. More deception, more lies. They were packed inside, hundreds at a time. Standing room only. The doors were sealed. Steel, airtight. Then the gas. Zyklon B. Pellets dropped through vents in the ceiling. They released hydrogen cyanide. Poison. Invisible. Deadly. It took 20 minutes. Maybe less. Maybe more. David could hear them. Through the walls. Through the steel doors. Screaming. Pounding. Praying. Then silence. After 30 minutes, the doors were opened. Ventilation fans cleared the gas. Then David and the others went in. The bodies were tangled, piled near the doors, near the vents, clawing toward air, toward escape, toward hope that never existed. David pulled them apart, one by one. Men, women, children, babies. Their faces were blue, purple, Mouths open, eyes wide, frozen in terror, in agony, in death. David looked at every face, searching for Sarah, for Rachel, for his wife, for his daughter. He never found them. Or maybe he did. Maybe he saw them and did not recognize them. Death changes faces, twists them, erases identity, leaves only horror. After the bodies were removed, they were taken to the ovens, large furnaces, brick, steel, fire roaring inside. The bodies were loaded, 3 at a time, sometimes 4. The heat was unbearable. The smell was worse. Burning flesh, burning hair, burning bone. It smelled sweet, sickly sweet, like roasted meat. It made David vomit every time. But there was nothing in his stomach, just bile, just acid, just pain. The ashes were collected, shoveled into bins, gray, fine, like sand. Sometimes there were pieces, bone fragments, teeth, gold fillings. The guards collected the gold, melted it down, sent it to Berlin, to the Reich, to fund the war. The ashes were dumped, in pits, in rivers, in fields, scattered, forgotten, anonymous. David walked through them. Every day, they coated everything, the ground, the air, his clothes, his skin. He breathed them, the ashes of the dead, of hundreds of thousands, of millions, of Sarah, of Rachel, of everyone. He carried them inside him, in his lungs, in his blood, in his soul. At night, David lay in his bunk. He could not sleep. He could not close his eyes without seeing the faces, the bodies, the children, Rachel in every child, her eyes, her terror, her trust. He wanted to die. He thought about it constantly. There were ways. The fence, electrified. Touch it and die instantly. Peaceful, quick. Or the guards, just stop working. Refuse. They would shoot you. Done. Over. But David did not do it. He did not know why. Maybe because dying felt like forgetting, like erasing Sarah and Rachel, like saying their deaths did not matter. Or maybe because some stubborn part of him still wanted to witness, to remember, to survive so he could tell the world. Even though he knew he would not survive. No one survived the Sonic Commando. It was impossible. One night, David found a piece of charcoal, small, broken, left over from the ovens. He picked it up. He looked at it. Black, rough, the same material that made the ashes, the same carbon, the same death, but also a tool, an artist's tool. He had not held charcoal in years. Not since Vienna. Not since his studio. He ran his thumb over it, felt the texture, the weight. Something stirred inside him. Not hope, not joy, just recognition. This was familiar. This was his. He went to the wall of the barracks. Rough wood, stained, scratched, carved with names and prayers. He pressed the charcoal to the wood. He drew a line. Just one line. Curved. Simple. It felt strange. Foreign. Like his hand did not remember. But it did. Muscle memory. Years of training. Years of practice. The hand knows even when the mind forgets. He drew another line. Then another. Slowly. Carefully. An image emerged. A face. A woman's face. Sarah. He drew from memory. Her eyes. Her hair. Her smile. The smile he had not seen in years. The smile that died in March 1938. He finished. He stepped back. He looked at the drawing. It was rough. Crude. But it was her. It was Sarah. Tears ran down his face. The first tears in months. He did not wipe them away. He just stood there, looking at his wife, at the ghost on the wall, at the memory made solid. The next night, he drew again. Rachel this time. Her face. Her hair in braids. Her doll Clara in her arms. He drew her smiling. The way she smiled in the studio. The way she smiled when he told her stories. About angels. He drew wings behind her. Large. Feathered. White. He made her an angel. The angel he promised her. the angel that did not save her, but maybe existed anyway, maybe waited for her, maybe welcomed her. He did not believe it, but he drew it anyway, because Rachel believed, because she deserved that much. The other prisoners saw the drawings. They gathered. They looked. They did not speak. They just looked. Then one man, an older man named Jacob, said, "Can you draw my son?" David said yes. Jacob described him. Brown hair, blue eyes, 7 years old, loved to play football. David drew him on the wall next to Rachel. Jacob wept. He touched the drawing. He said, "Thank you." He said, "Now I can see him. Now I remember." Another man asked. Then another. David drew them all. Sons, daughters, wives, husbands, parents, grandparents. The wall filled with faces, with memories, with ghosts. It became a memorial, a testament, a refusal to forget. The guards saw it. They did not stop him. Maybe they did not care. Maybe they thought it did not matter. These men would die soon anyway. What did drawings matter? Or maybe some part of them, some buried human part, understood the need, the desperation, the defiance. David drew every night. For weeks, the wall was covered. Dozens of faces, hundreds, but mostly he drew angels. Everywhere, in the corners, between the faces, above them, protecting them, guiding them, welcoming them. He drew them with wings, with halos, with light. He drew them as he imagined them, as Rachel imagined them. Beautiful, peaceful, safe. In January 1945, the Soviet army was close. Everyone knew it. The artillery could be heard. Distant thunder, getting closer every day. The Germans began evacuating the camp. They marched the prisoners west, away from the Soviets, away from liberation. It was called a death march. Most did not survive. Frozen, starved, shot. David was too weak to march, too sick, dysentery, fever. He could barely stand. He was left behind, with the others too sick to move. They were told they would be shot, executed before the Soviets arrived. No witnesses, no evidence, no survivors. David lay in his bunk, waiting. He looked at the wall, at the angels, at Rachel, at Sarah. He said goodbye. He closed his eyes. He waited for the gunshot, but it did not come. The guards fled, abandoned the camp, ran west, away from the Soviets, away from justice, away from everything. On January 27th, the Soviets arrived. They found the camp, the survivors, the evidence, the horror. They found David, barely alive, skin and bones, fever burning. They carried him to a hospital. They treated him, fed him, saved him. He survived. He did not know why. He did not know how, but he survived. David spent 3 months in the hospital, recovering, slowly, painfully. His body healed. His mind did not. He had nightmares. Every night. The chambers, the bodies, the children, Rachel. He woke screaming, sweating. The nurses held him, told him it was over. He was safe, but he was not safe. He would never be safe. The war ended in May. Germany surrendered. The camps were liberated. The survivors were freed. David was released from the hospital. He did not know where to go. Vienna was gone. His home, his studio, his life, all gone. He had no family, no friends, no one. He went to displaced persons camps. He searched for Sarah, for Rachel, for anyone. He found no one. They were dead, confirmed, gassed in 1942, the day they arrived, the day of the selection. They never had a chance. David wept, not because it was news. He knew. He always knew. But knowing and confirming are different. Confirmation is final. Confirmation is the end of hope. David tried to rebuild. He went to America, New York. He found work. In a factory, in a store. Nothing to do with art. He could not paint anymore. His hands still worked, but his heart did not. The images in his head were all death, all horror, all ash. He could not create beauty. Not anymore. He married again. In 1950, a woman named Ruth, a survivor, from Poland. She understood. She did not ask him to talk. She just held him when the nightmares came. They had no children. David could not. The thought terrified him. Bringing life into this world. After what he saw, after what he knew, it felt wrong, dangerous, cruel. In 1979, David received a letter from Poland, from a man named Piotr. The letter said, I am writing to you about Auschwitz, about the barracks, about the walls. I was there, Block 12. In 1944, I saw the drawings, the angels, the faces. I survived. I emigrated to America after the war. I became a teacher. I taught about the Holocaust, about the camps, about the horrors. I told my students about the drawings, about the artists who drew angels in hell. I did not know your name, but I never forgot. Last week, I met another survivor. He remembered you, David Hoffman, the artist, the Sonderkommando, the man who drew. He told me you survived. He gave me your address. I wanted to write, to thank you, because those drawings saved me, not physically, but spiritually. They reminded me that even in hell, humans create, humans remember, humans refuse to be erased. Thank you for that, for the angels, for the memory, for the defiance. Piotr. David read the letter 3 times, 4 times. His hands shook. He had not thought about the drawings in years. He had tried to forget, to bury that time, that place, those images, but they never left. They were always there, in his dreams, in his waking hours, in every shadow. He wrote back. He said, thank you for your letter. I did not think anyone remembered. I did not think the drawings mattered. I drew them because I needed to, because I had to create something, anything, in a place designed to destroy. I drew angels because my daughter believed in them, because I wanted her to be right, even though I knew she was not. Your letter tells me maybe she was. Maybe angels exist, not in heaven, but in memory, in art, in refusal. Thank you for remembering. David. They corresponded for years. Piotr visited David in New York. They met, 2 old men, connected by a wall, by drawings, by survival. Piotr said, I want to go back, to Auschwitz, to see if the barracks still stand, if the drawings still exist. David said, I cannot go back. Piotr said, I understand, but if they are still there, I will photograph them. I will preserve them. I will make sure the world knows. David said, thank you. In 1980, Piotr traveled to Poland, to Auschwitz. The camp was a museum now, a memorial, preserved. Piotr found Block 12. It was still standing. He went inside. The bunks were gone. The floor was empty, but the walls remained. And on the walls, faint but visible, were the drawings, the faces, the angels, weathered, faded. But there, Piotr wept. He photographed everything, every face, every angel, every line. He brought the photographs to David. David looked at them. He had not seen the drawings since 1945, 35 years. He stared at Rachel, at Sarah, at the angels. He said, I thought they were gone. Piotr said, they're not gone. They survived. Like you. David said, but why? Why did they survive? Piotr said, because they had to. Because the world needed to see, needed to remember, needed to know that even in the darkest place, light existed. Even if only on a wall, even if only in charcoal, even if only in memory. In 1985, David agreed to return to Auschwitz, his first time since liberation. 40 years. He was 72 years old. Frail, weak, but determined. Ruth went with him. Piotr went with him. They flew to Poland, to Krakow. They drove to Auschwitz. David stood at the gates. Arbeit macht free. Work sets you free. The ultimate lie. The ultimate cruelty. He walked through, into the camp, into his past, into his nightmare. Everything was the same, and everything was different. The barracks, the towers, the fences, the crematoria, all preserved, all empty, all silent. David walked to Block 12. He went inside. He saw the wall. He saw the drawings. His drawings. Faded, ghostly. But there. He reached out. He touched them. His hand trembling. He traced the lines. Rachel's face. Sarah's eyes. The wings of angels. He said, "You are still here. After everything. After 40 years. You are still here." Ruth held him. Pyotr stood back, giving him space, giving him time. David said, "I drew these because I had nothing else. No hope, no future, no reason. Just charcoal, just a wall, just memory. I did not think they would last. I did not think anyone would see them. But you did, and they did." Pyotr said, "They will last forever now. The museum is preserving them, documenting them, sharing them. The world will know." David nodded. He said, "Good, good, because Rachel needs to be remembered. Sarah needs to be remembered. All of them need to be remembered. That is all we can do now. Remember." David left Poland 2 days later. He never went back, but he started drawing again. For the first time since the war, he drew angels, hundreds of them, on paper, on canvas, on anything. He drew them for Rachel, for Sarah, for all the children, for all the dead, for all the survivors. He drew them because he finally understood. Angels are not divine beings. They are not saviors. They are witnesses. They are memory. They are the refusal to forget. And in that, they are real. David died in 1993. He was 80 years old. Ruth and his friends buried him in New York. On his headstone, they wrote, "David Hoffman, artist, survivor, witness, drew angels in hell, proved that light exists even in darkness." In 2005, the Auschwitz Museum opened a special exhibit about the drawings, about David, about the wall in Block 12. They displayed the photographs. The originals carefully preserved. They told the story about the artist, about the Sonic Commando, about the angels drawn in charcoal by a man who had lost everything. Millions of people visited. They stood before the drawings. They looked at the faces, at the angels. They wept. They remembered. They understood. That art is not luxury. It is necessity. It is survival. It is proof of humanity. And in Auschwitz, on a wall in Block 12, the angels still remain, faded, fragile, but there, watching, witnessing, remembering, proof that even in the ashes, even in the smoke, even in the darkest hell ever created, one man drew light. And that light, against all odds, survived.